My name is Buck Baskin. I'm the technology director in Sunny Valley ISD, if we haven't got a chance to meet already. And I want you to hear from me that, for us, technology is not just about, bandwidth and numbers and dollars and cents, like you may stereotypically think about technology departments. We deeply care about the kids in our district, and we deeply care about supporting you because we get technology's hard. I think that's one of the eye-opening things to me over the past few years is to realize, like, even as someone who works in technology every day, how vast and expansive it is and how difficult it is to fully understand it and then in turn fully keep up with it so that we can best protect our kids. And while used to, we mainly were concerned about inappropriate content, right? And then we jumped into now we're concerned about who are they talking with and chatting online and that aspect of it. I think also now we have to start to consider the social emotional side and the habit side. How are our kids' brains and minds being framed around technology, and what sort of internal rhythms and mindsets are being built? And is it one built that like technology is all about entertainment? And also, is it one built that, boundaries don't matter? Because that's one of my fears is our kids love to try to get around things. And my concern is they're forming this mindset that maybe those boundaries don't matter, which means, certain universities you go to, especially private ones, they're tracking those things. And if you go over those boundaries, they'll kick you out of school. Obviously, employers, they will fire you. And so we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to protect our kids and prepare them for the future. So what I want to talk to you about today, and I'll try to be as brief as I can, is the problem with hotspots and VPNs. So hotspots and VPNs are something that has become readily available. And I just, in summary, if you don't want to listen to the rest of this video, just know typically when a student, especially a 6th through 12th grade student, is using a hotspot or a VPN, it means they're trying to get around the boundaries that you've put in place to keep them safe and the boundaries we put in place to keep them safe. And so I want to, we want to just kind of help you understand what they are, why they're a problem, and what you can do. So first off, what they are. VPN is a virtual private network. Now, originally this was a networking tool. We use these sometimes to make certain things talk to each other that don't necessarily be online, but they need to communicate, like digital signage and things of that nature. And then also you may have heard of them. They've kind of become a consumer thing because of privacy, right? So if you're on a public network at Starbucks or whatever, and you don't want to risk your banking information being shared over those public open networks, they can be useful for that as well. Okay, so that's why they were created, is basically it does some privacy things, and I'll save the whole technical jargon. Hotspot is basically where your phone becomes an internet router. Now, you may remember you had to pay for a hotspot, or some of y'all may still pay for a separate hotspot, or you had to pay extra on your data plan to have a hotspot put on your phone, and then the data was very limited. Most phone plans now, though, have hotspot by default, and usually the data is pretty much unlimited. It might be limited to like 15 gigs, but it's more than enough to get through a month. And so I say that to say, I know I've had a lot of conversations where people don't even realize that there are hotspots on their phones, and especially not their students' phones, and that's there. Now, why are they a problem? So the best explanation I could give, I felt like it was in this picture. So when your kid's on a computer, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, we at the district have a firewall put in place. And what you can see is that it allows only certain things to pass through and other things to be blocked. And that little tiny hole is what we want for kids, not just to protect them from inappropriate content, but to help them to focus on the classroom and to just teach them how to have an appropriate relationship with the technology in their lives, to know when to focus, when to stay away from it, when to engage, and to develop what we call soft skills, of communication and creativity and collaboration, and so that they can be successful in the workforce. Okay, so that's what that is. That firewall is in place. You probably have similar things. You may have monitoring and tracking apps on your kids' phones and their devices. You may have filters on your homework network from, I know Nord does some, I know Google's got some, Apple offers some things, a lot of the phone providers now offer them. You probably have those protections in place. Well, here's what happens though if kids start to use VPNs and hotspots. This is basically what happens to our wall and your walls. They basically become big piles of rubble. And so that's what I want to let you know, is that for what we've seen, as we've said, 6th through 12th grade students and younger, and if you've got college age kids, probably the same thing if you're still putting those same protections on them. If they're using a hotspot or a VPN, it's for the purpose of getting around the protections that you've put in place. Okay. Now this could be protections of downloading and installing things, visiting certain content, playing certain games, but it could also be screen time limits, location services. If you've got things put in place where you want to know where they are, it could be doing that as well. And so it's a big problem and it's a concerning thing. And I want you to know this as a parent because I just know, I used to think, well, there's got to be a reason everybody knows this, but I just realized they may not. So I want you to know and I want you to hear it from me and be aware. But I also want you to hear from me as we want to be partners with you. Just like you want to protect your kid at home, we want to protect them here. And so we want to help you to help us. Now we've put some things in place to help with this, like on our district managed devices, we're able to block switching networks when they're here. We put restrictions in place to now, block installing of extensions from student accounts and things like that. But there's some other things you can do, especially if your student's got a cell phone, if they're on a dual device, to help us as well. And then hopefully, again, help your kid at home. So what can be done? A couple of things. One, check your child's devices. Now, please know you're not going to be able to just go search VPN. Now, you may find it that way, but likely not. Look for apps you don't recognize. A lot of times they'll disguise them as, not the kids, the developers. They'll disguise them as streaming apps. They'll disguise them as note-taking apps, all those things. So any apps that you don't recognize on phones, laptops, tablets, Chromebooks, look for that. Extensions, so browser extensions. So in Chrome, if you go to next to the address bar, you can click the puzzle piece and the Chrome extensions will list there. Any Chrome extensions you don't recognize. You can do some things like that in Firefox as well. And so looking for those extensions. Also looking for bookmarks and web history. One of the things I would say is IP addresses. So if you, instead of seeing a web address, you see an IP address, like all numbers, a lot of times now the VPNs get built into the browser, okay? And so looking through those things. So that'd be the first thing I would say is look for those VPNs, see if they exist on their devices, and then I would say get rid of them. The second thing I would say is disabling admin rights. If you need help with this, contact us, but making sure that your kid cannot install things without your permission or knowledge. Now, I'm not saying that's perfect. You're still going to have ongoing conversations because for every block, they may try to find another way, depending on the situation. And hear me, I'm not trying to say that our kids are devious, but the thing is that technology is so expansive, these tools and information so readily available, and the technology is so aggressive now. Like social media, streaming platforms, games, they're starting to implement psychology strategies to know how to basically get us addicted. And so we're fighting a bigger force than we used to. And I think we need to be aware of that. And just know that literally, it's like we're under attack. And so I want you to hear that from me. I'm not calling any kid a deviant. I'm just letting you know this is just the reality of the world we live in now. So regular checks, conversations, like I said, disabling admin rights. If you need help with putting those admin passwords on there so your kid cannot install things, please let us know. Permissions and restrictions for app installs. Now, this would be really for mobile devices. A lot of you already do this, and I applaud you for that. But just in case you don't, there are ways that you can make it to where when your kid wants to install something, they have to it's restricted against certain categories. Obviously, you can block VPNs, but just know, as we always have learned, it can be called something else. So permissions in general to be able to download and install and everything. And again, this is us protecting our kids and also teaching them important lessons and boundaries, just like we do in all other parts of life. I look at it this way. You remember when Napster came out and we all were doing it? Or not all, I don't want to accuse you, but I was doing it because what? It was at my computer. It was free. How could it be wrong, right? And we just didn't know. And I feel like that's the thing, for our kids, the whole internet now is Napster. It's like, if it's there and it's free and I can do it, how could it be wrong? Like I had a kid the other day and we were in a class and we were trying to figure some things out on why stuff wasn't working as we tried to increase our restrictions and protections. And then we said something about VPNs. They're like, oh, we're not supposed to have VPNs? I think sometimes they don't know. They don't realize, and they also don't realize, you think you're getting away with something, but eventually, whether it's school, college, or job, it's going to cost you. So those permissions and restrictions. Block hotspot usage. Now, you may be able to contact your cell phone company and turn this off, but you can also, through parental controls, block it. And so if you've already got parental controls on the phone, it should just be a setting to add, or you can turn them on. And again, this is why this matters. Like in iPhone, it's settings and then personal hotspot. And I think for Android, it's similar. Here's why this matters. if, we've got a network in place to protect them, and then they can hop onto a different network, those protections go away. If you put protections on your home router or home internet service through the provider, but then they can hop on the phone, they're on a different network, so the protections are different, just like if you were at a hotel or Starbucks or wherever you are, okay? Now, I will say with this, you can add other protections to where it's not network dependent. It can be device and account dependent, but these are just things to know, and I say as mental layers, put realistic consequences in place. Now, here's the reason I say that. It's easy for me to sit here and say, in your house, if you get caught with a VPN, take the phone away, okay? I had that conversation. My kids don't have phones yet. We're going to battle it as long as we can. And they don't have devices other than the ones we gave them from, they rented from the school, and then they don't even get on those at home. That's something we've done, but also I know we're in a unique situation. If my kids need something, their teacher can call my office and I can come help them, okay? So I get that it's unique. So I get for some of you, the realistic consequence may not be if we catch you the VPN, we're going to take the phone away. Because I'd warn my kids, if I see a VPN, it's going to be very bad. Be very, very bad for you. They may not be realistic for you because your child needs to go to work. They've got other responsibilities. They're picking up siblings, or just different family situations, and you want to be able to contact them and talk to them, through the week or whatever the case may be, okay? But coming up with realistic and clear consequences to let them know, like, this is serious, because I think sometimes our kids don't realize, like, the consequences. And again, it's not just about inappropriate content. It's not just about, people contacting them. We don't want to contact them. It's about them and their brains and their habits and how they view what it's going to take to be successful in the world. And we want to do everything we can to help them be successful. Now, I should have added one more thing, and I'll wrap up with this, with what can be done. Ask us for help. If you're not sure how to do this, if you've got a question, if you're not sure why this really matters, if you're struggling with anything as it relates to technology and kids, reach out. I'd be glad to have those conversations and to help you. If you've got ideas for us, just know we are not perfect. Trust me, in the technology world, it is difficult to be perfect. It is difficult to figure it out. Like, I'll tell you, for example, right now, we're trying to block YouTube, but then Google changed it to where if you embed a video in Google Slides like teachers do, it converts it to basically a embedded YouTube video. So we're having to figure it out, but we're always working. We're always trying. When we make mistakes, we're willing to own up to them, but also we want to work to solutions, and we want you to partner with us in that, and we want to partner with you. So hope this helps. If you need anything, please contact me at buck.baskin@sunnyvilleist.com, and just thank you for all you do.